You know what a hero looks like. You've read about them: soldiers, kings, presidents, even prophets. But once upon a time, long, long ago, a hero didn't wear armor or wield a sword. She wore a crown. And before that, she wore fear. Now the year was somewhere around 480 before Christ. The place, Persia. The king, Ahasuerus. And like any good royal tale, this one began with a beauty pageant. A royal decree went out: gather the fairest young women of the land, for the king sought a new queen. One of those women was a quiet Jewish girl, an orphan, in fact, raised by her older cousin. She was told to keep her heritage a secret. She obeyed. Her name was Hadassah, but you might know her by another name. Now, she wasn't just beautiful, she was wise, gentle. She found favor not only in the king's eyes, but in the eyes of all who met her. And so it was that this Jewish girl, this exile, became queen of Persia. A rags to royalty story? Not quite. Because behind the velvet curtains and golden scepters, a storm was brewing. A man named Haman rose to power. And he had a hatred, no, a rage for the Jewish people. He tricked the king into signing a decree, one that would spell death for all Jews in the empire. Yes, including the queen. Though the king didn't yet know who she really was. What could she do? Speak up and die? Stay silent and watch others die? Her cousin sent her a message. One sentence still echoes through time. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? She fasted. She prayed. Then, risking her life, she stepped into the king's court uninvited. Now, this was no fairy tale. In Persia, approaching the king without being summoned could mean death, even for a queen. But the king held out his golden scepter, and with that one act of favor, the tide began to turn. She exposed the plot. Haman was hanged. The Jewish people were saved. And though the story sounds like it ends there, it doesn't. You see, her courage gave birth to a celebration, a feast that is still observed by Jews to this day, Purim, a remembrance that God delivers often through unlikely people. Hadassah's story reminds us that true heroism often wears humility before it wears a crown. She was not chosen simply for her beauty, but for her courage, her faith, and her willingness to risk everything for the sake of others. Hadassah's journey from orphan exile to Queen of Persia shows us that God's plans are never hindered by our beginnings. She could have hidden, remained silent, or chosen comfort over courage, but instead she stood firm, trusting in God's providence. Her bravery changed the course of history and continues to inspire faith today. We all face moments when fear whispers, "Stay quiet," yet God calls us to rise and speak life, even when the cost is high. Hadassah teaches us that we are placed where we are, not by accident, but for a divine purpose. Like her, we may be living for such a time as this. You've heard of Cinderella. You've heard of Snow White, and you've even heard of Sleeping Beauty. But now you know the story of a Hebrew orphan. You know her as Esther, who became queen not to live in luxury, but to live so that others may live. And now that you know the rest of this story, you have a story to tell.